Hi, Jeremiah here, Innovative Technology Product Manager with Acres Equipment. Today I'm going to go through John Deere ExactApply, the ExactApply nozzle bodies, how they work, as well as some of the key maintenance points within the nozzle bodies. So to start out, I'm just going to go through the basics on how solution flows through the ExactApply nozzle body. So with the ExactApply nozzle body, when it's in the pulsing modes, and for this video I'm only going to focus on the pulsing modes with the ExactApply system. When you are in a pulsing mode, you have a few different options. You can do A only, where solution is only going to come out of the A nozzle, which is your front nozzle. You can do B only, when solution is only going to come out of your rear nozzle, which is the B nozzle. You can do an A plus B, where we would then pulsate out of both the front and the rear nozzle. Or for high flow applications, when you need to have nozzle pulsation, you can move one of the tall turrets to the front, and then you can do a combined A-B. John Deere ExactApply has the ability to pulsate at either 15 hertz or 30 hertz. Deere is the only manufacturer out here right now that has the ability to pulsate up to 30 hertz. How the pulsating system works and how the solution flows through the nozzle body, I'll go over here right now. So when this turret is mounted onto the sprayer, the little divot on the front is always towards the front, and that'll be your A side. The electrical connector is always at the rear of the boom, and that will be your B nozzle. In A only spray mode, you'll have a short turret at the front. The A solenoid will pulsate, and to tell which solenoid is which, when you look at the side of the turret, there'll be an A stamped in one side, and on the other side, you'll see a B stamped in. As material flows through the A nozzle port, it comes out of the bottom hole, which would be your A port. When you're looking at this nozzle body, you'll notice that on the front side, we have 2 ports that are open, whereas on the rear side, we only have 1 port that's open. That will come into play when we do an A-B combined, which I'll discuss a little bit later. So as material flows through, depending on your tip size and your gallons per acre and how fast you're traveling, will decide how much pulsing you get. Pulsing is basically done through a duty cycle. So the PWM will pulsate. The higher the duty cycle, when we get up towards 100%, that is going to be basically a full on, so more like a conventional sprayer. With nozzle pulsation, it gives us the ability to spray a wider range while utilizing a single tip. It gives us the ability to maybe back off, let that pulsate, lower our duty cycle down when we're running a larger tip, thus creating larger droplets so we don't have the drift. Where then we can pick up speed too as well, or change our rate to have a duty cycle a little bit higher, more pulsating, thus creating a little bit smaller droplet size, so you're going to get a little bit better coverage than you would when you're creating a larger droplet. So as it goes through nozzle A pulsates, it'll come out of here. The other mode you can do is you can switch over to a B only mode. So a B only mode would come then now out of the rear nozzle. You need to have a tall turret on the rear nozzle. The product would then come out of the rear nozzle, and you could apply through our B solenoid. Where this switching would work, where you can select A and then go to B, the most common applications that customers are going to use these at is opening a field. So say you have a chemical that is prone to drift, so you might want to do your border out of A nozzle. After you get your borders all done and you want to go to the main part of the field, now you can go to a tip that might get a little bit finer droplet size, going to get a little bit more, little better absorption into the weeds. you can switch over to your B nozzle, run that fire droplet, and not have to worry about it drifting as much. The other mode that you can do is an A plus B. So an A plus B pulsing mode is both of these are going to pulsate at 15 hertz. You'll have product solution that'll come out of the A nozzle as well as solution that'll come out of the B nozzle. To make that happen, when we set up our turrets in our screen, we will need to set a short turret to the front. When you look at our turrets, 1, 2, and 3 are all shorter than 4, 5, and 6. Also, when you look inside of the turret, you will notice that the tall turrets have 2 holes in them, where the short turrets only have 1. When I talked earlier, I discussed the 2 open holes in the front and only the 1 open hole in the back. So if you're ever going to spray out of the B nozzle and B only, you're always going to want 4, 5, or 6 on the back. If you have 1, 2, or 3 out the back and it will not allow you to spray B only because the port that lines up with that hole will be blocked. Okay, so when you're doing A plus B, you'll have a short at the front. So for this example, I'm going to put 1 on the front and we'll have 4 in the rear. So you would have a tip on each nozzle. And what that's going to do is say you're spraying a rate of 20 gallons. Normally, to spray 20 gallons, you might need a 6 or an 8 tip. So now when we tip this machine to spray that 20 gallons, say you're using a 6 or an 8 or 15 gallons, you're using a 6 or an 8, I should say, is you might have a 4 on the front and a 4 on the back, basically equaling roughly your 8. What that's going to do then is you're going to spray product out of both nozzles. You're going to get a lot better coverage because now you're spraying out of 2 nozzles rather than 1. So you're going to get double the coverage that you would have before while still putting down the rate that you would if you were running through a single tip. Both nozzles will pulsate. You can monitor the duty cycles through the screen and the display to make sure that you have the right tip on there for the product that you're applying as well. The next mode I'm going to go into is if you turn the turret from 1 on the front to 6 on the front, and when you set it up that way in the display, you'll notice the display will automatically default to AB combined. When pulsating in AB combined mode, we're going to pulsate at 30 hertz. Each nozzle is going to pulsate at 15. All the flow is going to come out of the front nozzle. This mode is going to be utilized in a lot of your high flow applications. So say if you want to pulsate and go 40, 50 gallons an acre, something like that, out of 1 nozzle, you'd be able to flow that out of 1 nozzle while still pulsating at our 30 hertz. This is where we get our 30 hertz from. Like I said earlier in the video, John Deere currently right now is the only company that allows you to pulsate up to 30 hertz through a single nozzle body. So with that, I'm going to tear the nozzle apart a little bit and go into some maintenance points. For this purpose, I already have the tab removed from the bottom of the turret. A few things to look at is sometimes these nozzles will leak a little bit. If you have a nozzle that's dripping out around the turret, there are kits that can be installed to replace these O-rings right here. Now going in a little bit deeper, like I talked earlier, A nozzle, B nozzle. Your A flow is always going to be out of the bottom. Your B flow is going to be out of the top. When we're in that combined AB, your back port here is going to be blocked off because you have a small turret on it, and you're going to flow out of both nozzles here out of the front. So material solution will come down through here. The solenoids will pulsate to allow that material out. When you shut it off, the coils basically shut off. System pressure is always going to be where you have it set here. These are basically your individual shutoffs. So when we talk about how with ExactApply and Ink Pro, it gives us the ability to have individual nozzle control and turn compensation. That is all done through our PWM valves on our ExactApply nozzle body. So a few of the maintenance points on an ExactApply nozzle body are the solenoids themselves. Some of the issues that you may run into when running it is you shut the machine off and you might have a nozzle that's still leaking a little bit of chemical out after the system's off. Most of the time what causes that is some material, either some solution or some dried up stuff in the tank let loose and got stuck in between the poppet, or there could be a chunk of plastic, something in the system that came through that made it through the strainer and got stuck in between the solenoid and the seat. When you have an ExactApply sprayer from the factory, they send a maintenance kit. That maintenance kit will be sitting in the cab on the floor, a black kit just like this. Within that kit, you will have 2 solenoids that come with it. I would suggest having a couple extra ones in there, so as you have issues throughout the day, if you have a nozzle that's leaking, rather than having to tear it all apart right there, you can just simply put one in and then come back and tear one apart later. So to disassemble the ExactApply nozzle solenoid, set it inside of the holder. There's a slot right there. Once you get it in the holder, you'll use the special tool that comes along with the kit. Loosen it, set the tool down, and then you'll spin your seat off. There is, on the plastic here, that does wear over time, especially if you're doing a lot of pulsating, a lot of heavy pressures behind the pulsating. You'll hear these seats will get kind of hammered out and leak a little bit. If you have a nozzle leaking, it could be bad seats, or you could have a piece of material stuck in here. So inspect that, make sure the O-ring's in place. The other thing is you'll take your seat itself out. When you take that seat out, be careful because there is a little spring that's in there. So remove the little spring, look at the seat, make sure the seat's good, there's no tears in it. It is just a small little rubber piece. This is a replaceable wear part that may need to be replaced after a while. There's really not a set amount of hours that they last. A lot of it depends on the type of products you're applying, as well as how much you're pulsating and what you're doing with the system and how you're using it. When you go to reassemble the assembly, you'll put your seat in there, lightly screw it on, and then when you torque it, you'll set your torque wrench on there and turn it till it clicks. One click and it's tight. Do not just crank it hard with your hand or tighten it with your hand. If you over tighten it or under tighten it, it could cause performance issues within the system. After you get it reassembled, simply put it back on, reassemble the nozzle body, and continue spraying.